Welcome to another edition of the Paradigm Next and BizCast webinars. In this series, we're going to be covering our own personal EOS journey. We're going to be talking to Dan Zawacki from 4 Moores Group, who is a certified EOS implementer. He's been kind of guiding our journey for the better part of the last about month and a half. What's happened in the last month and a half is, even though I read the Traction book by Gito Wickman probably about 6 months ago, we tried to self-implement it ourselves. And while we implemented each individual part and it seemed like it was working and we saw some changes, we really couldn't piece them all together and make them truly effective for our business. So in this quarantine, through this entire period, we had a chance to really kind of step aside from the business and take a more 30,000-foot view in what we needed. And what we realized that we needed that organizational structure and the background and the system that works to run our business. Dan's background of being an entrepreneur for 30 years in the same business, scaling that business and eventually selling the business, kind of validated his experience and assured that he would be able to bring that experience to the EOS implementation journey. And true to form, we have now been working at it for a little bit, and I'm seeing fundamental changes in the way we run our business. I'm seeing changes in the way that our people have become more accountable. We've had some people fall off as a result, but these are people that weren't kind of rowing in the same direction with us to begin with. So that's, it's been eye-opening. So without any kind of further ado, I'm going to introduce Dan Zawacki from 4 Moores Group and let him kind of take over.
Well, thank you for that fabulous introduction. I feel very lucky to do what I do. And that's really what I do, is I help business owners get what they want from their businesses. And it's really important right now because I was just reading a statistic from the U.S. Bureau of Commerce that 1 in 4 companies are going to go out of business this year. And that is just a staggering amount. And nobody wants to be in that statistic. And, part of what EOS does is it builds the structure so that organizations can grow, right? And if you can grow and with the right structure, you're going to be more profitable. And if you're more profitable, well, you sure are going to have a lot more fun doing it as well. And that's what we do. So there's really 3 basic things that, as a certified EOS implementer, that we do, which is called vision, traction, healthy. Vision is where we get everyone aligned at the leadership team. So first of all, we start at the leadership team level, right? Because if you can't get the leadership team level all aligned, then it doesn't matter. Nothing's going to happen. So as you know, we're working with your leadership team, and we're getting everybody aligned on the vision, right? Because that is literally the key. Everybody has the same vision. The second part is the traction part. And the traction part is literally building accountability and discipline throughout the organization so that everywhere you look in the organization, from the leadership team down to entry level, everybody's focusing in on the vision. And the healthy part is something, when I owned Lobstergram for the 30 years, people have a tendency to you want your employees to be smart, right? And of course you do, but you always don't really focus on them being healthy, right? A healthy, cohesive leadership team that actually wants to spend time together, right? When you're a small organization, you first start out and you got a few people here and there, everybody's happy and they all go to happy hours and get along and all that. And then as you grow and you get 20, 30, 40, 50, I had 120 people at one time. At one point, didn't even know everybody's name, which is kind of sad. So that's what we really also focus on, is not only making the organization smart in what they do, but also being healthy. So the way EOS works is that we have what we call the 6 key components. And the first one is the vision component, right? And the vision component is literally, like I said earlier, getting everybody aligned on the vision, okay? The people component, that's the right people in the right seats, but it's really having great people. And then the next part is the data component, right? So the data component is we're measuring the most important things, okay, for the organization's success But we take a different approach. It's not a P&L. It's really, what is your leading indicators, right? So if you want to have $100,000 a week in sales, how many proposals do you have to get out? How many then emails do you need to send to get to that? And that would probably be one of the leading indicators. So when you have the people component, the vision, and the data component aligned, it's just going to bring out all the issues, okay? And every time I get to this part, when I teach EOS, people are just like, Dan, you said that you weren't going to have all these issues, that the EOS was going to, get rid of them. And I just go like this, and I'm excited because those issues were there. They just didn't know they were there.
Uncovered them,
right?
yeah.
So we smoke them out, and then we teach how to solve issues, right? And then the other component is a process component, right? So literally every company out there has a handful of core processes, right? Some people think they have 50 or so. You literally have a handful. So we teach to make sure that we are documenting those as simple as possible, right? Because if you have this 200-page document of all your processes, guess how many people are going to read it? None, right?
Yeah.
So we teach the 3-step process documenter, and it gets everybody aligned, right? I mean, that's one of the key parts, because that's how you scale and that's how you grow profitably. And then the traction part, that's literally installing the accountability and the discipline in the organization so that you are always achieving your vision. All right. There's a reason vision's at the top, because a vision without the traction is really a hallucination when you come down to it. And so that's the overall of what EOS is about.
Kind of the first component is hitting the ceiling. It's talking about what the limitations are and where we as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as managers, where we can no longer do more under the current system, with the current people, with the current roles, with the current process. And then right away we jumped into the accountability chart, and that's the underpinning of everything else. Is
Yep.
You could have the vision, you could have the process, you could have everything you want. Without the people, you're never going to get there. So being able to go through the accountability chart was fantastic. And then now we understand who we are. What do we do with it?
I have found that 90% of the time the answer's in the room at the leadership team level, right? My job is to get in your heads and just grab it out. And I ask a lot of whys. We start with what we call a 90-minute meeting. Literally, we open up the fire hose and we just go through all the 6 key components. And each one of these components, there are different tools and disciplines that we teach for each component, okay? And that's the journey that we take. Literally, the EOS is a journey. What wakes me up every day is creating value for my clients. That's what I live for. And then the focus day, which we had, we work in building the structure of the organization first, right? And one of the first things, as you mentioned, we teach is hitting the ceiling, right? And what I really teach there is it's absolutely normal. It is going to happen. Then we teach the 5 leadership abilities. That's the only way you are going to break through that ceiling. And you need to determine, is it the company, is it the department, or the individual? Because if you think that it's really the whole department, but it's really just an individual, and then you waste all your time and energy trying to fix this department, well, guess what? All the other people in the department, they're going to go crazy. They're going to go, what the hell are you doing? It's not us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right after hitting the ceiling, we start with building the accountability chart. So we build the structure, and if there's 6 people or 7 people in the room on the leadership team, right? The owners plus all the people in the leadership team, everybody agrees this is the right structure. So what gets a little funky, actually very funky, is let's say there's 8 people that come into this focus day, and after it, we've determined the right structure is only 7 seats or 7, parts. on the accountability chart, then one person is sitting there going, okay, what's up, right? We then define 5 to 7 roles. What are the 5 to 7 roles that you are accountable for? Okay, that's the key. So that's why we call it the accountability chart. And of course, then we put the roles for the visionary and the integrator.
And I think that having this accountability chart and going through the process, I think takes off a lot of the roles which a visionary who normally starts the company and feels obligated for. I feel like laying that out really releases that visionary to a degree to go be a visionary, or maybe not completely depending on the size of the company, but it gives them enough bandwidth, enough understanding of what they should and should not be doing to just have the clarity of mind to be able to apply that.
The great companies have a visionary and an integrator. They complement each other. We call it being on the same page.
Now we're looking for the role that we need to fill, the functions that need to be done, and the type of person that needs to do them. And I feel that EOS kind of also bridged that gap for us. So rocks are the big problems essentially, or the projects that we have to accomplish in the next quarter or 13 weeks as it measures down. Those are, those are goals, are issues. They're the big ones. That's the ones where we only list a few, but we set a plan in motion to make sure that at the end of that quarter, we actually have them done.
Rocks is a sticky term for objectives, right? But nobody likes objectives. They want rocks. So what we do is at the leadership team, we have what we call company rocks, right? And company rocks are these projects or these big, hairy problems we need to solve in the next 90 days that will help the whole company grow, okay? That's what company rocks are. Individual rocks are literally maybe your department, right? That seat, that would help their department, or it could be even something you personally need to do as well. And so in true EOS fashion, we always say less is more, okay?
In personal life and business especially, you have all these projects, you want to do all these things, but you never have time to do them because you have the day-to-day operational stuff, you have the issues that come up, and you never really come back to them. So I think laying them out and coming back to them, on a weekly basis and seeing where you're at and knowing who are the people that are responsible for it and them having to report on a weekly basis on exactly where they stand. I think it's been a fundamental change, and it's actually a perfect segue into, now you have the right people. Now you understood that you've hit a ceiling. You've put together the right structure for the team, and you have the right people. You've identified what your problems are. And many of us have done different parts of that. We've identified our problems, and then we kind of shrugged our shoulders and then moved on with our life.
EOS, Gino created this, we call it the level 10 meeting, okay? And it is literally the best way to run a meeting, but there's a few rules with it, and that's one, it's the same day every week, all right? And it starts on time, okay? So that means if it starts at 9 in the morning, everybody's ready by 8:55, right? And that it also ends on time. It lasts 90 minutes so that you're not, people are scheduling their 90 minutes, and this is at the leadership team level, right? Everybody's in there. And the first thing in the agenda is that we call it a SEGUE. And the SEGUE lasts literally 5 minutes, no longer than 5 minutes. And just simply, you sit in, everybody's around the table. Hey, what's the best business thing that happened to you last week? And what's the best personal thing, right? Again, that's where it starts building that team health. The next thing we look at is the scorecard. And we're going to get to the scorecard right here, but the scorecard is the leading indicators, which I had mentioned a little earlier. And then we basically say, is that number on track or off track? If it's on track, great, awesome. If it's off track, boop, we call it drop it down, where we have more time to discuss it.
And just a little bit of feedback on this point, I think this is the biggest problem with implementing the L10 meetings is getting people, myself included, not to discuss it, because stating that you're off track on something kind of begs for you to say to justify why.
And then right after that, we go into what we call the rock review. And you say, are we on track or off track? If they're off track, we call it, you drop it down into the session part, where in the part where you are identifying, discussing, and solving the big issues. After we talk about the scorecard, on track, off track, then we talk about the to-dos, right? So everything we solved last week, we have somebody that has a to-do. And that to-do, then you review it that week. Is it to done or not? Simple. If it's not, drop it down. And then we get into employee and customer headlines. What's going on with our clients out there? What's going on with our employees? Are people happy? Are they not happy, right? And so if you think about it, each one of those 5 things is 5 minutes. So in 25 minutes in the meeting, you and the whole leadership team know exactly what the heck is going on in your organization. And then we have 60 full minutes, 1 hour to solve issues. And that's basically, we call it IDSing. And I stands for identify, D stands for discuss, and S stands for solve. And then at the very end, we have what we call the conclusion. So you have 5 minutes to conclude, and you recap your to-do list. So you look at everybody right in the eye. Here's your to-do. Do you understand that was it, what we just said? Yes. Or, oh, wait, no, I missed that part, right? So we get clarity. And then there's any cascading messages. So if we made a decision that's going to affect the company, how do we get this information to the company, right? What do? We send them email, we do a video, we just get up and tell them on stage what we just did or what. And then the reason why we call it a level 10 meeting is we rate the meeting. So everybody in the meeting at the leadership team level rates the meeting. We started on time, we ended on time, everybody was there, and we solved the most important issues for the week. And that's why we call it a level 10, because you always want to try and get it a 10.
One of the things I wanted to add in that conclusion is how helpful that summary is. And especially if you're using some kind of tool. So we're using Traction tools for it. It's basically a software that puts all of this together. And at the end of our L10 meeting, it gives us all of the issues that we solved, all of the associated to-dos. So it's not just a list of to-dos and no tie-in on what the bigger issue is. I think it's a great summary, and it's a summary that gets emailed out to every meeting, and then they see how they play a role. So one issue might have 3 to-dos assigned to 3 different people. And by seeing that and seeing how your part is important and how now you're more responsible and accountable, not just to yourself, but to the team and to the issue at hand, I think gets people really fired up to solve them and gets the root of the problem more. The solutions aren't as superficial because they know what problem they're trying to solve.
It is a 13-week, which is the 90 days, right? So every week we're measuring it, right? And so in simplest form, if it's in the green, you've hit that number for the week. If it's red, you've missed it, right? So what the scorecard is designed to do is to show trends, right? If you start seeing all reds over a couple, 3-4 weeks, you could take action immediately, right? Sometimes if it's a really big scorecard number and it's off track, you need to immediately nail it right away. But it shows the trends of what's going on in your organization, right? And also the good trends, right? If it's all greens and that's great, right? Well, it is a pleasure working with your team. You guys are really fun to work with, but also really dedicated, and that's what I love. That's what I really enjoy, working with people who are really excited about it.
And we are definitely excited, and I think you've played a pivotal role in our excitement. Implementing new processes and reading new business books isn't usually the most exciting time of the day, but it's been fun. B, it's been practical. I've applied the principles that we've kind of put together, and we've already seen results. We've seen new clients come in because of some of the things that we put in motion. We've seen some shuffling of the staff and of the roles. We've had time free up for some of our people because they were focused on the wrong things. So we're,
Yeah.
we're definitely seeing a change. We're looking forward to the next step. As I mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, we're going to do a webinar series chronicling our EOS journey. So the next one is going to be to cover vision building day 1, then day 2, and so forth. Somewhere along the way, we'll also probably do a side one that's specifically focused on the L10 meeting and kind of an example of how our L10 meeting runs and what we are getting out of it. But this has been tremendously helpful for our team. I think it's going to be beneficial for others. There are clients that I've talked to, friends that I've talked to. I am very gung-ho right now about EOS as a system, and definitely about Dan as a person to be able to make it come alive. So Dan, thank you for not only kind of guiding us through this path, but also sharing your insights today. I am confident that anybody that's watching this is going to definitely benefit from what they hear. But I think the best thing that you could possibly do is to reach out to Dan, to talk to Dan, have that 90-minute meeting to where you have a fundamental understanding of how this applies. Dan is also offering to send you the traction book at no cost. So if you're interested in learning about the system, reading the book, great book by Gino Wickman, who is the founder of the system itself, we'll have information for you on how to be able to reach out to Dan to get the book, to set up the 90-minute, and take it from there.
Awesome. Well, it's been great. I appreciate it. And be safe and have some fun out there.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Dan. Looking forward to next steps. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.